Last year when DEWALT released their FlexVolt line of tools, we were excited but skeptical, and especially about the 12-inch full-size miter saw and how it would perform on the job site. We spent the last 6 months evaluating this saw. We placed it with 2 different crews, building a house as well as dozens of remodeling projects. This long evaluation process obviously was a long wait for you guys, but we feel we've been able to fully vet this amazing new saw. The first and probably the most important feature of this saw has been its ability to use it as a cordless saw when we had no power, to eventually switching over and running it plugged into AC power source. It is designed to run off of 2 FlexVolt batteries, 6-volt battery packs, and you can also run it on an AC power by installing a converter that basically plugs into the battery sockets. This option makes the new FlexVolt miter saw one of the most versatile cordless tools we've ever used or tested. Having this type of option available on a high demand miter saw drawing cordless power, it's absolutely amazing, and it allows users the maximum amount of flexibility to get the job done on one tool. Let's talk a little bit about performance. In order to get the real grasp of overall performance with this new saw, we started using it on beginning on a framing of a new house. We just figured let's just start with the house and finish with the house. So we used it when there was no power on the site yet. We had a generator running, and we used the saw all the way through the stages to the finish stage when we had power and we were running off of AC. What stood out the most about this miter saw is how well it performed both cordless and in corded modes. There was no noticeable difference in performance from one mode to the other, and the saw performs just as you'd expect any other 12-inch DEWALT miter saw to perform. It's basically the same saw, but it's got different power modes. While framing the walkout portion of the project, the crew was able to cut framing lumber all day on 2 battery packs. I will say that we did plug them in at lunch as added insurance because we didn't want it to die on us for 30 minutes at lunch. But in retrospect, I don't think we needed that. I don't think we needed to do that. The saw had plenty of power for cutting framing materials, including engineered lumber, and even when we were running on a cordless mode, there were no problems with engineered lumber. Precision and accuracy is important in a miter saw, and we found it to be an accurate saw right out of the box. We didn't have to do any adjustments to the miter or bevel factory settings, which was a really nice surprise. Usually you have to do some sort of tweaking. After 6 months of use, we were continued to be impressed because there was no accuracy or precision adjustments needed either. Even though we used it in rough framing and finish, no problems. We used the saw to do trim, exterior trim, interior trim, decking, oak stair treads, all with great success. And again, I'd compare this saw to any of the DEWALT saws that I've used over the years. It's an amazing little saw. It's packed with a ton of features, all the things that you would expect on a quality miter saw. This saw weighs 56 pounds. It has a cut capacity of 6 3/4 inches. It will miter left to 50 degrees and right to 60 degrees. Our favorite feature is the cut blade line positioning system. It's that shadow line that lights up the blade. DEWALT's been offering this for a while now. It's probably the best out there in the market. I love it. People are copying it now. The miter controls and detents, they all worked flawlessly, easy to adjust. And lastly, the blade guard that DEWALT uses is probably the best in the market out there, in my opinion. It works smoothly, it never gets hung up, and like I said, it's probably the best guards out there. Talk about runtime of the saw. We found the runtime to be excellent. First of all, we did a runtime test when we first got it over the summer, and we used a 2x12, and we were able to achieve 124 cuts. Now, we did the test with 6-volt, 6-amp-hour batteries, 2, and they were brand new batteries, and the test involved basically cutting the 2x12 every 10 seconds, up to 10 cuts, and then letting the saw rest for a minute. And we would repeat that cycle again and again, allowing it to rest until the battery drained. We felt that cycle, that type of repetition cycle, was best way to simulate actual job site use instead of just continuously cutting. Obviously, with the new 9-amp-hour battery packs, the runtime is going to be even greater. We get that. In job site use, we found the saw had plenty of runtime, basically, to keep the crew going throughout the day. And if you have a crew that's maybe working in demanding applications, framing all the time, just get an extra set of batteries, you're good to go. As far as improvements, this saw is really good and doesn't have much in the way of issues that we found to be noteworthy. I guess I would love if DEWALT would explore the option to allow for the bevel adjustments, maybe to be in the front instead of having to reach around and undo that knob. But it's not the end of the world, and it's easy enough to maneuver. A larger issue that we did discover with the FlexVolt miter saw is that there is some sort of electrical interference issue. While doing finish work in the new house we were building for this client, we discovered this issue, and we're hoping that obviously that DEWALT can resolve it in the near future. Here's the issue. When we were plugged in using the saw with the AC adapter, we were causing breakers to trip on the electrical panel in the house. And what's really interesting, or what's strange, is the fact that we weren't tripping the circuit that we were directly plugged into. We were tripping other dual function type circuits like AFCI, GFCI breakers in the panel. There's got to be some sort of an issue with the converter and signals sending through the electrical system. I'm not really sure. Needless to say, it's a nuisance that's not fun to deal with, and one that customers are likely going to be annoyed with if you're doing renovations and remodeling work in their home. We reached out to DEWALT with the issue. They're looking into it. We're hoping they can address the problem, but that's a minor issue in the grand scheme of things. Overall performance, overall impression of this saw, guys, it's amazing. The last year we've seen a bunch of cordless miter saws come out in the market. They all made their debut, and I gotta be honest with you, the results have been very impressive. However, none of them are full-size 12-inch miter saws that give you the option to plug directly into AC power as well as use cordless. The FlexVolt miter saw is the best full-size miter saw for job site applications in our opinion. Offering all the features of a DEWALT 12-inch sliding compound miter saw, and it gives you that option of cordless. It's hard really to compare it to any of these other cordless saws in the market. There is no comparison. With the recent availability of the 9 amp hour battery pack, the saw is even going to have greater runtime and versatility. This saw sells for $799. I gotta tell you, that's a fair price for a quality saw that has such amazing flexibility for contractors. I'm Rob Robillard. Please consider subscribing. Just click that button right there below. We need your support, and we'll see you at the next tool review. Take care.